You're listening to the Geriatric Mamas Podcast with Jessica Raziri
and Sonia Tapley.
This episode, we're going to be sharing a story that we found on Women's Health magazine website while researching for the 40 Infertile AF episode. It's a story of former pro soccer player Carli Lloyd, who helped the USWNT win 2 World Cups in 2015 and 2019 and 2 Olympic gold medals in 2008 and 2012. She's currently a soccer analyst and correspondent for Fox Sports and lives with her husband, Brian, in New Jersey. In recent years, she's been on a secret journey involving unexplained infertility and multiple rounds of IVF treatments. She shares her full story exclusively with Women's Health in her own words, womenshealthmag.com. It is a wild ride. You're going to be on the edge of your seat, in my case, my couch.
I know I was.
Start crying. It's
Yeah.
just such a relatable story. It's I mean,
Spoiler alert, we cry again.
we cry again.
It's fine.
Yes, but
Right.
it's such a relatable story, and
Yeah.
I love that she shared it with people because
Mhm.
it's really helpful to see and know that this is a
Mhm.
thing. It's normal, and
Right. Exactly.
fuck the stigma.
Here we are. So for those of you who are just tuning in, the purpose of HOPEisodes is to provide hope to those who are in the thick of their journey to mamahood. Each HOPEisode shares a different woman's journey to geriatric mamahood, whether it be through fertility treatments, surrogacy, adoption. Regardless of the method, all of these women have endured heartache, disappointment, anxiety, and stress before finally being blessed with their miracle babies. If you have a fertility journey you would like to share, please send it to us at hello@geriatricmamas.com or go on geriatricmamas.com and click send us your story. 51.
51. I hate this. I feel like we're like back in a third world country again.
I know. It's so weird. And it's also funny because like you fixed my microphone while you were here. And so
I
it's
know, it
like
sounds really good. It's not all like clinking around. It's
yeah.
like perfect.
It's not
Nice
just
and
like
clear.
hanging off by its wire.
You had like all the things were loose. Like this
Yeah.
part was loose. Yeah, I don't want to touch it, make a whole bunch of noise on my mic, but like this part was loose. You had all the connectors weren't even connected. And I'm just
Yeah.
like, no wonder like the slightest like tap of like anything, your whole mic is like spinning around.
You're like, what is this? I don't get it. Like, what's happening here?
Gosh, but it's really weird just looking at you through a computer screen again,
Mhm.
though. I'm
I
like,
know.
how are we doing this before? Oh, yeah.
I'm not sitting on my butt pillow to keep me tall. I
Just
have my
being you.
computer angled in a certain way, so
Oh
we're the
my
same
God.
height. Yep.
Oh, of course. Now the pugs all come.
They must have missed you. I bet the girls missed you so much.
Yes, Delilah, it was funny because when she came, like when she saw me, it's like she came up to me and she was like sniffing me and she's like, Mama, is that you? Is that you? Mama?
Yeah. So cute. She's such a mama's girl.
My goodness, I was looking through photos from Storyland and I was just like cracking up at the photo view. Like, you guys, we have we have some funny stories from Storyland, but there's one in particular where you're like making sure you're tall enough to get on the ride and she like just barely clears it. Just
Which
barely
ride
clears
was it?
it.
Oh yeah, it was the big
Well, it was
roller
the roller
coaster.
coaster that we didn't actually end up going
Right,
on because of that one Karen that literally took her job so
Right.
seriously. Like,
You do realize that
God.
we are allowed to have our cell phones on most rides at Universal Studios. I mean, I was doing videos on some of the Harry Potter rides.
It's ridiculous. But the thing is like, usually I just have like my phone in my back pocket. This was like wrapped around me. There's like a shoulder strap.
It's not going anywhere.
Right. Okay, let's like rewind and tell the story. So Sonia
Yeah.
and I had this really funny idea for a reel, and we're like, okay, we need to go on a roller coaster. It's gonna be so funny. And we're on there. We have our cell phones, and I really loved the case. We'll share it, but really
Yeah.
love the case that Sonia found on Amazon. And so I got one so that it's like kind of like a little like phone case wallet purse kind of thing. And so it has like this shoulder strap. It's also our wallet, right? So we're not just gonna like leave it somewhere. And so we have it wrapped around our shoulders. She sees it on us and she's like, "You can't have those. Those need to go up in the cubby." And we're like, it's our foot. We'll put it in our back pocket. Nope,
Yeah.
it can't. You can't have it at all. And we're just like, what are you talking about? Like, it's wrapped around us. It's in our back pocket. Like, calm down. Nope, it needs to go in the cubby. And Sonia's like, it's my wallet. I'm not giving you my wallet. Like, no, that's absurd.
Yeah.
And she's just like, well, it's that or get off the ride. And like, we were so pissed. We had waited in line and we just look at each other and we're like, well, it's like a freaking statement at this point. We're proving this. So we're just like, well, fuck you. We're going to get off the ride.
Right.
So we get off the ride, we leave. We're like, that bitch. And we're just like so pissed. We're at like a child's theme park here.
Right,
So it's
right.
just like, whatever. So we like take off and we're just like, it's fine. We'll wait till a little bit later and we'll go again. We'll wait till she's not there. And then we like go back later. They had like 30 minutes before the park closes. And like, it was like a ghost town at the roller coaster. Like they all checked out. There was absolutely nobody there. So needless to say, we did not get the reel that we wanted.
It would have been so good. So
We'll
good.
do it. We'll do it. It's gonna happen.
Yeah.
We're gonna figure this out somehow. Even if like we both have to like separately go on like 2 different roller coasters to get like and then just merge it together. We'll
Right.
figure it out.
Right. No, and the kids were so cute at Storyland. Like, I can't wait to go back with Annabelle because we didn't get to like get all the stuff in while we were there. We did our best. We tried, but there's just so much for the little ones to see. So
There is. Yeah. Hayden did not nap at all before, and he's like such a passionate sleeper. So he was exhausted, and it was like the first part of the trip, Annabelle was kind of going through it. And then, like, that was when Hayden was kind of like alive and happy to be there. And then the second part of trip where Annabelle was coming alive, Hayden was passed the fuck out in the stroller and just like sleeping the entire time. I'm just like, okay. We had them in the most adorable matching outfits. We didn't even get like a cute matching outfit
No.
photo.
No,
I
we
had all
didn't.
these visions of like these adorable photos, and then it
Right.
was like reality hits, and it's like,
Right.
yeah, but you guys have toddlers, so
Right.
that's not a thing.
It's like trying to herd very moody cats. They're not quite feral. They still like people, but
Moody cats. Yeah. Adorable little moody
right.
cats.
Little kittens, but they just can't. But it's fine.
No.
They had a really good day.
They did. They did. It was really cute. They both got their little Storyland driver's licenses.
Oh my gosh, adorable.
So cute. Now Annabelle has an official driver's license to stick in her wallet.
Exactly.
So cute.
Well, I'm sad that you're gone. I wish you
know,
could have stayed forever. But
I started feeling like I was.
Yeah,
I was
I know.
there for so long.
This is your new home.
It didn't hit me until I was coming back on Tuesday that I was like, oh, wait, like this is going to be our first recording apart again.
Yeah, I know.
And of course, like, there's no video for it. Sorry, guys. That's on me. That's my fault. I'm the one that did it today. Woke up late, been working on the house. We had a realtor come on Thursday and gave us a list of things that needed to be done. So really the weekends are like the only time. So we hit it hard yesterday with stuff, and I was just like exhausted. I didn't go to bed till like close to 2 a.m. And then like my alarm goes off. I set 2 alarms. I clearly slept through the first alarm, and then like I absolutely need to get the fuck up alarm goes off. And at that point I really had no time to do anything besides like get my child ready and out of the house. So needless to say, I feel like I look like a corpse with a bow. Like, it's not cute. I'm not sharing the video. Sorry,
fine.
not
You've got
doing
your
it.
skincare on. You're good.
Yeah, my skin's glowing, but it's just, that's it. That's all I've got going for me.
Yeah. It's so crazy you say you're up till like 2 a.m. because so Mike and I had planned on doing our anniversary like date night last night, and we did. We got to the restaurant, I would say the first place that we went to probably like 6 o'clock because we were gonna just have like an appetizer and a couple of drinks, and we went to Rira in Portland, and it was so cute. Like, we love going upstairs at Rira and just getting like some crab dip and whatever because it's like delicious. And I discovered that we sat at the bar this time, and I discovered that their prosecco is on tap. And like the emblem was so cute. I was like, I need to have some Prosecco. Well, they didn't just pour a little glass of Prosecco like normally. Like they filled it all the way to the top like it was a Guinness, basically. I was like, okay. So, I mean, they were normal wine glasses, but it was filled to the brim. And then I'm like 3/4 of the way down with my cup, and the lady's like, all right, I'm going to get you another Prosecco. You want another one, right? And I was like, I look at Mike, and he's like, yeah, no, just get one. We're still finishing our food. And I was like, okay. So I get another one, and I finished that, and I'm like feeling good. I'm feeling okay. And then we went to Luke's Lobster so we could go get our lobster rolls. And I got the normal drink that I get there. And I would say probably like 2 sips in, it just hit me. Like I just felt like I was exhausted, and like I was almost basically like drunk. And so
Oh my
we finished our lobster rolls, and I was like, we gotta go home. And so I laid down on the couch. When we got home, we were going to watch some Southern Charm, and I just immediately fell asleep. Mike said I was out. So that was at 9 o'clock at night on our anniversary date night. I fell asleep on the couch.
Oh my God.
Right. Mind you, this might be TMI for some listeners. I don't know. But I'm on my period, so I'm like wicked low energy. So that could have had something. I'm going to just hope that's what it was. Because, like,
Yeah.
3 drinks and I'm done? I'm sorry. What?
That's hilarious. I love how you're just like, I gotta get out of
Yeah.
here. I gotta get out of
Go.
here.
Go. Like, Mike's like still trying to finish his food, and I'm like, oh, I'm so tired.
A lobster roll sounds so good. I ate so much lobster while I was there, and it just does not feel like enough.
No, it's so good.
It was funny. I don't know what night. Was it Friday night? I don't even fucking know. Wednesday night. My days are all a blur at this point. But one of the nights I was at my mother-in-law's, and she was just like, so I know you just came from the state that's known for its seafood, but we were going to do salmon and lobster cakes tonight. Is that okay? And I'm just like, yes,
Great.
sure. I'll
Let's-
just keep it going.
That's amazing. Were they good?
It was good. Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, yes, it was good.
Good.
I mean, obviously, it wasn't like caught fresh
Right,
from
right.
the Atlantic Ocean, but
From Maine,
it was
yeah.
still really good. Yes,
Yes.
still appreciated. Well, happy 7th anniversary, by the way.
Thank you. I can't believe
That's
it's been 7
crazy.
years. So
I know.
crazy.
That's awesome. What is I never followed the, like, what, like, the
don't know.
milestone.
We
You
didn't
know how it's like the
actually-
first year, and I'm going to get these wrong, I know it, but it's like the first year, it's like you're supposed to exchange paper, and then the second year, you're supposed to
I'm gonna look that up right
exchange.
now.
Yeah, look it up because I'm
Anniversary.
totally going to butcher these.
Traditional gift is wool. I did
Wool?
not get Michael anything wool, neither did he for me.
Get him
so.
get him some like wool boxers.
Some scratchy wool boxers. These will keep you warm in winter since we basically
Yeah.
live in Alaska. There
Exactly. Exactly.
you go. Oh man, that's so gross because like wool starts to like even in the coldest of days, wool just like starts to get smelly after.
I know.
That's so
Oh.
disgusting.
I wonder if they make
man.
them as like a joke gift because how
Yeah.
uncomfortable.
Right.
Wool underwear. Ew.
Oh god, I can only
Ew.
imagine. Like the cavemen probably wore them.
Ew. They probably did.
The Neanderthals who settled in Maine and thought it was a great idea back
Well,
in the
maybe
day.
we should like ask our ancestors.
Yeah, we should.
Somehow,
I'll ask
what
my
they would-
grandmother. And Mike's mom, because she knits everything under the sun, so I'll ask her. Well, should we get into the episode?
Yes, we should.
So this episode, we're going to be sharing a story that we found on Women's Health Magazine's website while researching for the 40 Infertile AF episode. If you haven't listened to that, go check it out. But this story is of a former pro soccer player named Carli Lloyd, who helped the U.S. women's national team win 2 World Cups in 2015 and 2019, and 2 Olympic gold medals in 2008 and 2012. She's currently a soccer analyst and correspondent for Fox Sports and lives with her husband Brian in New Jersey. In recent years, she's been on a secret journey involving unexplained infertility and multiple rounds of IVF treatments. She shared her full story exclusively with Women's Health in her own words. I just love that she wrote all of this herself. It's such a good story. So
Yeah, good find, Sonia. When you sent me this article, I'm like, yep,
Yes.
So, being a mom was always something I wanted, but it wasn't necessarily something that was always on my mind. As a professional soccer player, I was on the sole mission of becoming the best in the world. In order to get there, I knew soccer had to be my number one priority. It would require a selfish mindset. My husband, Brian, and I met in high school, so we've been together for 24 years. He supported me through every step of my career, and without his support, I never would have reached the heights I did. When I retired in 2021 at the age of 39, I spent 34 years of my life playing soccer, 17 of them professionally. Having a baby was on our mind, and I thought putting it off for a little bit longer to enjoy life wouldn't pose an issue. For the first time, soccer wasn't my priority. I could actually choose what I wanted to do and spend time with Brian, my family, and my friends without soccer consuming my mind and body. In retrospect, I wish I had been more educated about pregnancy and how to prepare for it, and that I looked years ago into the options I had for freezing my eggs. In the summer of 2022, Brian and I thought that it was time to try to get pregnant and see where it would lead us. My whole life revolved around defying odds and proving people wrong. Soccer taught me how to work hard, persevere, be resilient, and never give up. I would do whatever it took to prepare, and usually when I prepared, I got results. This is so relatable.
Mm-hmm.
But I found out that I didn't know much about this world. I was very naive to think that we wouldn't have any issues getting pregnant. And so it began. The casual, whatever happens, happens turned into disappointment month after month. I was starting to feel like this was a race against the clock, my 40-year-old biological clock.
Mm-hmm.
Yup.
Mm-hmm.
It's so hard too with people like that are also for me like I was like such a control freak and like this
Mm-hmm.
is the one thing that I didn't really feel like I could control. Like I
Right.
was controlling all the outside factors, but like it didn't necessarily mean anything and
Right.
it's awful.
Right. Exactly. I know. And the heartbreak month after month and just
Hmm.
the absolute, like, you have zero control, but you're just relying on your body to do what it needs to do month after month. I mean,
Hmm.
it's the blind faith and trust and then the heartbreak every month that I got with that whole 4 years of us trying naturally before diving into IVF. I fully understand that. So I kept saying to myself, why is my body failing me? I had taken such good care of myself, was never a smoker, didn't drink much. I started talking to a former teammate who had gone through similar struggles, and she helped guide me and encourage me. She suggested I start building a support team around me. I began doing acupuncture and going to a health and wellness center that could help with the process. Brian and I also decided to both get checked out to make sure there were no issues going on. After getting all the necessary tests done, there was nothing standing in our way except my age. I left that visit with the doctor asking when I wanted to start in vitro fertilization. I was taken aback, as we were in the early stages and I hadn't even thought about IVF yet. I wasn't ready to go down that road. In my mind, we could still get pregnant naturally and just needed to give it some time. The months continued to pass with the thought of trying to get pregnant constantly on my mind. I decided to schedule a consultation with another fertility doctor. I asked around about other doctors, and Dr. Luis Manara at the Center for Reproductive Medicine and Fertility in Voorhees, New Jersey, came highly recommended. At this point, my COBRA insurance that I had for a year after I retired was expiring. We didn't have any insurance at the consult, but I didn't care as I wanted to hear what he had to say. I met with Dr. Manara, who has been a fertility doctor since 1985. He gathered some information about myself and Brian. He was empathetic, knowledgeable, and honest. He said, with your age and the timing, the best and most straightforward route is to do IVF. I fought it so much up until this point. As a woman, I wanted to get pregnant naturally because that's what our bodies are supposed to be capable of. I felt like my body let me down, but at that moment, I was ready to take the next steps. The first time I sat in a waiting room, I remember feeling really ashamed and embarrassed. I wanted to put my head down, afraid that people would recognize me. I felt as if I shouldn't be there, but as time went on, I realized that we're all human and many women are going through similar struggles. There's a stigma that comes with needing help or needing to go through fertility treatments. It isn't talked about enough, but it's just a different process to get to the same end goal. becoming a parent.
I love how every single person that comes forward and shares her story mentions that there's a stigma around that. And the fact that she was saying she was embarrassed and didn't want to say that she needed help and didn't want to be recognized at the fertility clinic. Like, I don't know why that's such a thing, but it is, because I kind of felt that way too. Like, I know, like, for you, like, you had always kind of like mentally prepared yourself for it. So I know we talked about that before. But for me, for some reason, like, I also felt that. I felt that shame. I was a little bit of embarrassed. I didn't like to admit that
Yeah.
I needed help. I'm like, I can do this. What do you, no, like, I got this. Like,
Yeah.
it's,
Yeah.
yeah. So anybody that's trying to say there's not a stigma around it, like, there is. It's there. Women feel it.
Right.
You don't know about it. You don't think about it until you're going through it yourself, and then you
Right.
feel it. And then you're just like, wait a minute, what is
Yeah,
that?
yeah. There's so many people who just didn't feel comfortable talking about it with me until they found out that I was going through the same thing, and then they came forward, and it's like that for so many people.
Our plan was to stash as many embryos as we could because we would love to have 2 children, and now is the time to retrieve my eggs at a younger age. So, again, being a bit naive, I'm thinking, we'll get 4 on the first one. Totally, not a problem. During my career, I put myself through rigorous workouts, did ice baths every day, and had a very high pain tolerance. I was always no pain, no gain. So, for me, the injections were the easy bit, and I did all of them myself. The hardest thing was the emotional toll, the uncertainty, the waiting, the constant worrying about what if. Yup. I had 20 eggs retrieved. Wow.
Yeah.
But we expected those numbers to dwindle after they were fertilized by day 5 and 6. Then the numbers were expected to dwindle even more when the embryos were sent to genetic testing. I never made it to genetic testing. So it was a waiting game that we literally had no control over. And it's hard. I felt all the emotions during my career: stress, worry, fear, anxiety, but I never felt all the emotions that IVF brought on. I felt completely out of control. It's an indescribable roller coaster unless you go through it. Yup. After my first egg retrieval, I was waiting for the call to find out how many embryos had made it after day 6. I was in Washington, D.C., in the dining hall of the Capitol building, doing media and meetings with the senators about the excitement of the upcoming 2023 Women's World Cup with a team of Fox Sports. When the nurse called, I had to excuse myself. She told me that 3 embryos had made it, which meant we would likely end up with even less than that after genetic testing. The nurse needed an answer on whether we wanted to hold off on genetic testing and do another retrieval. We could group the first and second rounds together to save money, or go ahead with sending these 3 off to get tested. Genetic testing results usually took 1 to 2 weeks. It's always like a disheartening thing. Like, I did not get that many eggs. But I would say the most that I got in the last round, I can't remember, but like, I was so excited about the number. And I mean, I was just so naive too, because when you hear this number and you're thinking, oh yeah, and we'll store them, we'll bank them, and then that way, like, because I want multiple children. And then you're like, wait, what do you mean I only have 1? What do you mean I have 1? What happened to all of the rest that were here? What are you talking
Right.
about? Like, it's crazy just how many of them don't actually
Right.
make it.
I know. Yeah, we had retrieved 12 eggs, 8 fertilized. I think 5 made it to like day 6. And then for sending off to testing, 3 of them made it through the whole thing. And only 1 was viable. So just so.
And that's why it's like when people are like, well, you should have frozen your eggs. You should have frozen your eggs. And yeah, obviously, like, eggs are healthier when you're younger. So probably the chances of them being viable, healthy eggs at, when you're younger is good. But like, it's not it's not a guarantee. So it's
Right.
like, you really should be freezing embryos if that's your intent, because you don't know if it's a good egg until you go to try to make an embryo.
Right.
So
Exactly. So you could have 7
hard.
trash eggs saved, or eggs that aren't strong enough to make it. And then they never fertilize. So it's, yeah. And that was something that what Ariana and Tom Sandoval were going through. They were thinking about doing it before the whole Sandoval thing broke out because of that reason. She was like, they need to be strong. They need to make it. So
She did end up freezing her eggs, though,
did
right?
she? I don't
I
remember.
thought so. I
She
just don't think
probably
she turned
did
them
at this
into
point.
embryos.
Yeah.
I think she froze her eggs. She just didn't end up thank God she didn't turn them into embryos. That douchebag.
Because then he would want custody of the embryos.
Yes.
Jesus
No,
Christ.
you know he would. I
Yeah.
love how you just brought that up because I finally
Mm-hmm.
just got caught up. I fell out of all my shows when I went to Maine, and so
Mm-hmm.
I was so far behind, and then I finally got caught up and finished the reunions and stuff, and I'm just like, are you caught up with the
No, not at
latest?
all.
Oh,
Because
okay.
Mike has
Then I
really
won't say
wanted.
anything.
Yeah, Mike has been really into Southern Charm, so we
Okay.
are full on in that right now.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm gonna need you to get caught up.
Yeah, me too. Me too. So she said, I started tearing up. The emotion hit me like a ton of bricks, and all I wanted was to be alone in private. I hadn't said anything to my colleagues at Fox. I felt incredibly rude and apologized profusely, and they supported me even though they had no idea what was going on. Meanwhile, we started our tour around the Capitol building. I called Brian and shared the news with him and couldn't control my emotions, but I had to pull it together. I called my other friend who had gone through the IVF journey and was supporting me every step of the way, asking her if we should do another cycle right away or wait for the genetic results. I was just so gutted. My expectation was that we would get enough embryos the first round. We would do a transfer, I would get pregnant, and then I would go to work at the World Cup in July. And everything would be absolutely perfect. But life is never perfect and never how you plan it. That was when I realized you cannot have any expectations going through this process. I remember you guys were the same. And I mean, I would try to plan out ahead too, only because I wanted to know like what time of year
Mm-hmm.
the baby was going to be born and,
Yeah.
for multiple reasons, but I wanted to know the zodiac sign. I remember that always
Mm-hmm.
coming up every time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, what's the birthstone? What are the birthday
Mhm.
parties gonna look like?
Mhm.
Like, how far away from like Christmas is it? Because, like,
Mhm.
to me, for some reason, that's just like a nightmare to have
Mhm.
like a birthday close to Christmas. I know it
Right.
happens. My mom, my sister in law, like
Yeah.
my father in law, like, it's a thing. But I
Mhm.
just, being like on the other side of it and like planning both of those things.
Mhm.
But yeah, I know. It's just, and then not having it work out, it's a
Right.
lot. Okay, so she continues. We chose to pay to send the embryos off for genetic testing. We wanted to know how many genetically normal ones we had before we started a second round. Two of our embryos came back genetically normal, so now we had a bit of a dilemma. If we wanted two kids, both embryos would have to work. We went back and forth about whether to do another cycle. And there's never a right or wrong answer. You just make a decision that inevitably decides the path. It's also a costly decision. Yeah,
Mhm.
ain't that the truth? A lot of this was paid out of pocket because our health insurance didn't cover it. I know that many people struggle to even be able to consider fertility treatment, so we were very grateful that more rounds of IVF was an option for us. My schedule was insanely packed throughout this process, but this cycle was particularly challenging. Anyone who has gone through IVF knows that you are at the mercy of your body and you don't control the timing. It took a lot of patience and understanding when my agent would tell some of the brands I was working with confidentially I was going through this and that we may need to reschedule some events. Believe it or not, I was able to get through everything seamlessly. That's one thing I will say. I was like really careful not to like open up to like my work or anything when I was
Mhm.
going through all this stuff. But then like when I finally did,
Mhm.
like the support, like more people were understanding than I
Yeah.
thought they would be. Like, so I feel like that's probably what she was experiencing, like trying to keep it
Yeah.
to herself. And then people were like, oh, okay,
Mhm.
we can work with you. So
Yeah.
that's cool. One shoot I had with Delta required stopping the shoot so I could do my injections. We were shooting all over DC, and I had a 15-minute window to duck into a hotel bathroom, do my shots, and come back out. Oh my God. Wow.
It
Mine
takes
was a
me
whole,
that long.
yours and mine were a whole ordeal. I had to lay on
Yeah.
the couch. Adam had to come over, sit there with
Yes.
ice. Like, come on.
Yeah, I was not emotionally like okay with the shots because I hate shots. And so it would take sometimes at least 15 minutes for me to stop laughing or
Yeah.
delaying the situation or whatever just to get the
Yeah.
injection.
I remember in the beginning, it was like the buildup of it. I'd be like, oh my God, oh my God. I'm like, do a countdown. Let me know when
Yeah.
you're going to do it. And I'd be freaking out, especially when it was like the tiny ones and it'd be on the
Mhm.
stomach. And like, sometimes I wouldn't feel them because I would be like, so
Mhm.
like freaking out. And then he'd be like,
Mhm.
it's over. I'm like, what? You did it? And he's like, it's it. And I'm like, oh, okay. That felt like a mosquito bite. It was like
Right.
nothing.
So she says, my body responded well to the medication and there were no issues retrieving eggs. The issue I was faced with was finding quality eggs that would fertilize and become strong embryos. This time, 3 made it to day 6, and next was the genetic testing process. I was in Los Angeles about to host my soccer clinic when the nurse called. I was walking to get breakfast with my cousin Jamie and my coach and friend Sean. The nurse told me that 0 embryos had come back genetically normal. The entire cycle was a wash, a complete waste of time and money. My clinic was starting 30 minutes later in front of 100 kids, and once again, I had to wipe away tears and carry on. My cousin Carrie, who lives in Los Angeles, met us for dinner that night. Thankfully, I was not alone and had Carrie, Jamie, and Sean by my side. I cried to Carrie and Jamie in my hotel room, explaining the journey. They both said to stay hopeful and that it will work out the way it's supposed to work out. At this point, I didn't have time to do another retrieval cycle. I was leaving for Australia for the Women's World Cup with Fox Sports at the beginning of July. I also was so emotionally drained that I needed a break. My thoughts were consumed with this. It was time to get away, let loose, have a cocktail or two, and enjoy my experience. And that is exactly what I did. I was surrounded by an incredible team of people working the Women's World Cup, and it was the exact break that I needed. But I was still left with the decision of what to do. Is 2 embryos enough? Do we take our chances? Do I go through another retrieval? Brian was ready to go through with a transfer, but I wasn't quite sure, and he knew I wasn't ready to make a decision. But I didn't need to have an answer right away. I had plenty of time to think. It's such a hard decision.
It really is. And like that whole thing of like your like life is still happening around you. Life doesn't like time doesn't pause for you to be
Right.
going through this. And like I remember there were so many times that it would be like, okay, I just realized that this round is a failure and it's a complete waste of money. And then you have to like jump on a client call and act like everything's great. And it's like your heart is completely shattered, but you have
Yeah.
to like compartmentalize that, put it in a different bucket, and just
Right.
like pretend everything's okay. And it's like
Right.
it's so hard. It
Right.
is such a test on your mental sanity. Like it's
Like the compartmentalization that she like I mean I'm really good at compartmentalizing as well, but I feel like on the days that I was like going through the roller coaster like in a downward spiral, there was no coming back from that. And luckily they happened on like days that I had purposely taken off for certain
mhm.
things. But I can't imagine she was just like out in public, so she's got really strong compartmentalizing skills. And I guess she didn't really have
Mhm.
a choice because she was like going live or in front
Yeah,
of 100 kids.
and that's the thing too. It's like you don't realize how strong that you can be in those moments until you have to. Like when you're
Yeah.
put in a position where you have no choice. Like she didn't have a choice. Like it's huge. It's a huge
Yeah.
thing. That's like a once in, lifetime
Yeah.
shot. She has to be doing this stuff. And so it doesn't just like take a pause because she's going through something. So
Right.
it's incredibly, it's incredibly challenging. Okay, so when I came home from Australia in August, I purposely waited to start the transfer process until I had adjusted back to the time zone and was feeling good. No matter how much you want to speed up the process, you can't. It is very time consuming and unpredictable. We had 2 frozen embryos and we decided to take the chance with one. We felt that maybe these 2 were meant to be our children. You know what this reminds me of? Is when you called me and you said, we have one
Yeah.
viable embryo. Do I go back and get more or do I transfer? And I was like, transfer her.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
need her in my
I
life.
know.
Transfer her now.
Yeah.
That's what it reminds me of.
Yeah.
The embryo transfer was quick and easy. She's just gonna skip over the whole full
First and
bladder part.
foremost, you have to have a full bladder, and I took that very
Like I
seriously.
did too. Like, are we literally just gonna skip over that whole part because that was very traumatizing for us.
Mhm.
So,
Mhm. On
okay.
my transfer day, there was someone else that was scheduled right before me, and I never knew when they were gonna come out and when they were gonna get me. And so I remember I had to go to the bathroom to do a tiny, tiny
Mm,
pee like 3 times. I just stopped telling them when I was gonna go because I was about to explode.
God.
Ugh.
Ugh. Yeah, I hope she's like, it was quick and easy. Like,
No
well,
big
but there's a
deal.
lot that happens there.
Maybe her
So,
doctor's office didn't tell her she had to have a full bladder.
well, maybe. I don't know. That or she's just blocked it out.
Maybe she forgot about that part.
Yeah. I feel like I should have been under anesthesia for that. That was like a full bladder was not a good thing for
We
me.
would have just been peeing ourselves. It's
Yeah,
fine.
that's true. Maybe that's why. Like, 'cause you would have pissed all over the table. You don't have to be put under anesthesia like you do with an egg retrieval. I was still feeling as if I could somehow control this journey. So I went to the grocery store and purchased all I could to help allow my body to accept this embryo. Pomegranate juice, pineapple, nuts, teas. I thought you weren't supposed to do pineapple once you transfer because it could cause contractions.
Yeah.
Like it could cause like,
Yeah.
I don't
It's
know,
something you're supposed to do.
before.
Yeah.
Anyway, I kept my socks on daily. Oh, yes, keep your feet warm. I did a medicated transfer, which required daily progesterone shots on my butt, alternating sides every day. I literally still, actually not anymore, but it was only up until recently, like this past year, like I would say just like 6 months ago. I feel like I had like some kind of nerve damage or something from yes, because I kept feeling like a needle, like once in a while I'd feel like sharp
Yeah.
needle pains in like
Yeah.
where I would be injected because
Yeah.
those are long ass
Right.
needles, like
Maybe
it
you
fucked
did.
something up, maybe. It was much easier having Brian do these for me while I lay on my stomach. He never ooh, it's actually better if you stand, girl, trust me. He never liked having to do these. I didn't like them either. I bled and had bruises and knots on each side of my butt. Okay, for those who are just tuning in, if you have to do these injections, I swear to you, it is much worse if you lay down. I promise you, I've done both. What is the easiest, the thing that I learned that makes it way more tolerable? You stand up. If you're going to have your husband or whatever, or your partner, whatever side they're going to do it on, let's say they're going to do it on the right side, make sure all your weight is on your left side. Don't put any weight on the right side. And then you're going to want to ice it for a while too. Use like a bag of peas or really like I actually used, you know, those the really 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 cold ice packs they'd give you for your injections when you would get them. I used those. I put that
Yeah.
motherfucker straight on my skin. I didn't even put like a towel. I wanted that shit as numb as possible. So I used that and I would hold it for like it was so cold. That the ice was more painful than the shot.
Yeah.
Like I held that on there for just like a few minutes and then literally you lean all the way to the opposite side. It goes right, and especially if like your husband or partner will pinch the skin a little bit as they go into it, so they kind of like I'm showing a visual, we're not showing the video, but like you literally just kind of like hold like grab the chunk of the skin a little bit, don't just like go into it. But we got it down to a science. I'm telling you, it sounds aggressive, but that was the way to make it like not like you didn't really like you feel like initial poke, but you don't feel the rest of it. It was way
Yeah.
less painful than laying down.
Yeah. I ended up the first few times we tried to do it, I stood, but my like reflexes, as soon as I would feel the needle start to brush my skin, I would like jump out of the way and just start laughing because it like tickled. So
Were you
then,
icing it before?
no, I wasn't.
So that would because I'm so ticklish and I would have done the same thing. But had you iced it to the point where you were so numb,
You
like
would never know.
you don't feel it. Yeah, it's so much better that way. So now the waiting began. To be honest, it was torture. My life stopped completely as I felt like I needed to control everything for this embryo to take. I was traveling around this time and needed to wait an extra few days to go to the doctor's office to get blood work to see if I was pregnant. Usually, I would have gone in 9 days after the embryo transfer. In my case, it was 12 days later. Oh my God, I would have been. Please tell me you peed on a stick, girl. Like, there's
Right.
no way I could have.
12 days is a long time.
Absolutely not. I was driving to our local dump to throw trash and cardboard out, which I do quite often, when I received a call from Dr. Manara right before I pulled in. My heart was beating so fast, and I was holding my breath. He shared the bad news. What the fuck? I thought this was our happy ending. This is a HOPEisode, right? Like, are we going to get a
I
rainbow?
told you the story was a long one.
Jesus. No, but it's just like I'm just so
I know.
invested. I need a good it's like Virgin River where I'm just like it's like one thing after the next. I'm like, can we give Mel her baby already?
Right.
I am done with this.
Right.
Like give her a rainbow. He shared the bad news. I wasn't pregnant. I felt sick to my stomach. He was heartbroken for us. He said that even when you take all these steps, there's only a 60% chance of a successful transfer with genetically normal embryos, and sometimes it just doesn't work out. He suggested that we go ahead with another retrieval since now was the time to get as many embryos as we could for future children. That afternoon, I had to put a smile on my face, wipe away tears, and shoot some social media content. Life went on. That is
Mm-hmm.
so heartbreaking.
Yeah. No, I can't imagine. And like just the fact that there's only a 60% chance with a genetically viable
Mm-hmm.
embryo, it's the odds. I mean, it's basically it feels like it's 50%, which is just not enough. But I wanted answers. I thought maybe there was something I did wrong. I felt hopeless. I didn't see light at the end of the tunnel. I had never been this broken in my life ever. My life had been revolving around all of this, consuming me. Everything I ate or drank, anything I did, there would be guilt. Should I have this? Should I not have this? Should I work out? Should I not work out? I was literally driving myself crazy. Throughout this entire process, my schedule was busy and I was juggling so much. I would have to leave my home, go speak or do a shoot, put on a happy face, and pretend that none of this was going on in my world when it was eating me up every single moment of the day. I felt every emotion throughout this process. When I look back at all the things I went through on the soccer field, whether it was a poor performance, getting benched, or missing a penalty kick in a World Cup final, there was always something I felt I could do to control the situation. I would go out and work 10 times harder. I was incredibly focused during my career. The majority of the time, the world saw me in competitor mode, a machine. I was often emotionless and numb because that's the only way I felt I was able to survive and thrive. But this situation hit me so differently. I wasn't emotionless or numb. Some nights I would lie in bed crying uncontrollably to Brian. I cried and worried a lot. I leaned on Brian more than I ever had, as well as on my family and friends. For the first time in my life, I needed their support to keep going.
Yeah, you get to a point where you're just like, I remember it was like a Thanksgiving, this is years ago, and this is before anybody knew anything was happening, and we had just had like a miscarriage, and I show up to, I think it was Thanksgiving, and there was like family friends in town, and I show up to my mother-in-law's house, and we were all like drinking and all hanging out, and then this family friend, I don't remember why they had it, but it was like one of those like baby announcement like chalkboard things where it was like
Mhm.
height, weight, like gender, name, or whatever. And I
Mhm.
think like it was like supposed to be like a joke of like, here we have this, like because they were trying to encourage like the
Mhm.
us, Rachel and Jason, Adam and I, to like have a baby or whatever,
Mhm.
and not knowing what we had been going through. And I was like keeping it together. Nobody in the family knew. And then all of a sudden I burst into tears,
Mhm.
and everybody's like, what the hell is going on?
Mhm.
And it was like after that that I realized like, okay, we can't just keep this to ourselves.
Right.
Clearly, like, need to open up and let people know what's going on. And then once we finally did confide in a family and explain everything that was happening, like it takes some of that. It's still there. It still
Mhm.
sucks, but it takes some of that weight off. And
Mhm.
looking back, I kind of wish that I had leaned on
Mhm.
them sooner and didn't keep it all close. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's just sucks.
Yeah. It's hard once it's out there. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
but
Well, it's hard because it's like I've never been one, like I hate when people are just like look at you with like, "Oh, I'm
mhm.
sorry." Cuz like sometimes
Yeah.
it's like you're trying not to think about it. You're trying to like stay positive, stay focused, keep looking forward. And when you
Mhm.
like walk in a room and everybody stops talking or just looks at you with like sad eyes, it's just like, "Come on, can we
Yeah.
not like, yes, I told you, but can we not just make that be the only thing?"
Mhm.
So I feel like for me, that's kind of why usually I keep things in, but
Yeah.
this is huge. There's no right way to deal with this. So
Right.
it is what it is.
Yeah.
Growing up, my parents attended church and would take me and my sister and brother. We attended Sunday school and some youth group events, but it wasn't something I necessarily enjoyed. Throughout my career, I had many teammates who would hold Bible study on the road, and I would occasionally join in. It wasn't until after a failed transfer, where I felt lost and completely hopeless, that my faith kicked in. Former teammates of mine would send me prayers and encouragement. I truly believed that everything in our lives happened for a reason. You can't always see it or feel it in the moment, but when you look back in time, you understand it. When I called my parents to tell them our transfer didn't work, they both said, "It just wasn't meant to be. For whatever reason, God has other plans for you. Don't lose hope." And while hearing this was hard to process, it was the only thing I could hold on to. I had to believe that what's meant to be will be and to trust the process. It sounded familiar, something I would constantly tell myself during my career. At the start of our third cycle, my mindset was totally different. I finally surrendered. Whatever was meant to be would be, and I had to continue to live life. Life is short. I didn't want time to pass on by and look back and say I didn't enjoy my life while we were going through this. You don't get time back. So I tried to stop thinking about our future and started living in the present, one day at a time. We have chickens, so I spent time outside in nature with them, and that was very therapeutic. I started to journal every day. I wrote down my fears and worries. I read and I prayed. For once, I became vulnerable and leaned on all the support I had around me. Brian and I had a vacation planned to the Bahamas in December, and of course, here we are on unplanned IVF cycle number 3 at the mercy of my body's timing. We hoped it wouldn't interfere with our trip, but we knew we couldn't control that. Thankfully, our third retrieval ended up being a week prior to our departure. The nurse called and left a voicemail as we were flying to the Bahamas, letting me know that we had 4 embryos that made it to day 6, which was great news for us. That is great news.
Mm-hmm.
Those got shipped off to genetic testing, more waiting. 2 of those 4 ended up being genetically normal. After 3 retrievals, we had 3 embryos, and we felt good about that. Dr. Manara felt good about it as well. That is a good number. 3
Yeah,
embryos, 3
it's
normal
really
embryos.
good.
So they had only, I know I read it, or you
Mm-hmm.
read it, but so they had only transferred 1
Right.
the first time, right? Okay.
Right. Mm-hmm. So 3
Okay.
more chances.
That's good. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
that's good.
Yes. So she writes, we started the transfer process at the beginning of January, and our transfer was at the end of the month. Of course, we had another trip scheduled. This time, I was invited to play in the Waste Management Pro-Am in Phoenix. I was now worried whether it would be okay to play and swing a golf club while we waited to see if this embryos took. So I'm just gonna put my transfer story real quick. I mean, it's not like a full story, but we transferred Annabelle on August 27th, and the next day, my brother needed us to go over to his house to watch Kyler while he built his shed. And so it was supposed to be just like a low-key day of us like sipping ice water on the porch watching my brother finish the shed outside, like while holding Kyler, but my brother ended up falling off the roof of the shed, and it was like a huge tall shed, and he shattered his heel. But when all this happened, I literally sprinted and dove on top of him because I thought he was dead. Like, I sprinted across the yard and dove on top of him, and like in that exact moment, I was like, this embryo is not going to take, but fuck it. Like, I don't care. And like,
Mm-hmm.
then I was calling 911 while my grandmother sat with him. We realized he was like okay, but not okay. So like, anyway, there's hope, even if you're going to be super active.
Yeah. Oh my God. I do remember you telling me that. I remember you
Yeah.
were like freaking out about that.
Mm-hmm.
God.
Yeah. So I consulted with Dr. Manara, and he said it would be okay. It was nice to be away and have a distraction. Since we were traveling, I wouldn't be able to go into the office to get my blood drawn to see if I was pregnant. So instead of having to wait until we got home, the office wrote me a script to go while in Scottsdale. We got up early, took an Uber, and walked into LabCorp. I expected the result to come back 3 days later since it was a Friday. The next morning, I woke up early and noticed an alert in my portal that I could view the results. Since this was a Saturday, no one was at Dr. Manara's office, so I got the news before they could call to tell me. I'm already crying. Without clicking on the download version, I saw only my beta HCG level. I texted my friend, the one who had been supporting me through this journey, a screenshot of the number. She texted in all caps, "Oh my God, Carli, you are pregnant." Brian was just waking up as I shared the news. We hugged and held each other, and for the first time in a long time, felt at peace. Whew.
Oh my God.
I know. So, while I wanted to jump up and down and celebrate, we knew we weren't out of the woods. We would have 4 more blood tests to make sure my HCG levels were rising, and the ultrasounds would follow. Every appointment brought anxiety. Our first ultrasound was to confirm that the gestational sac was inside the uterus and everything was looking good. Since we had a ski trip coming up the following week, we went back to the office 2 weeks later. During our second ultrasound, we were thrown a curveball. The baby still had a heartbeat, but the measurement was calculated at 5 days behind, and Dr. Manara was concerned to see this in a genetically tested embryo for which we knew the exact date of the transfer. I immediately thought I did something wrong. Dr. Manara assured me this had nothing to do with the skiing or traveling. He did say, "I'm still hopeful, but I'm concerned that this could potentially lead to miscarriage." We left the visit extremely uneasy and worried, and I was leaving for Mexico the next day. We now had to wait another week after I returned from my travels to go back and make sure that everything was okay. Again, we held on to faith that God has a plan and it will work out the way it's supposed to work out. I continued to journal, but it was never off my mind. I feared I'd miscarry at any moment.
Oh,
I
God.
know. It's such a roller coaster.
Nobody tells you about all the waiting.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like people just think it's like the 2 week wait. And it's like, I will tell you, the 2 weeks feel like 4 weeks.
Right.
And it's not just the 2 week wait. It's waiting for your cycle to be at a certain point. It's waiting to see if you have enough eggs, enough follicles that cycle. It's waiting to see, make sure that like your uterus looks good, the lining looks great. It's waiting to see then like, you know, to do the transfer, like once you're ready for that. Then obviously the 2 week wait, which feels like 4 weeks. And then it's waiting to see if your levels are still rising. And then it's waiting to see for the heartbeat. And then it's just like, it's constant waiting.
And you're
and
on
that
hormone therapy
yes.
to help all of this along, but it doesn't help with your mental state at all. And it feels like it takes 4 weeks instead of 2 because every single waking moment it's on your mind. There's never a time when you're not thinking about it.
And for anybody who's just tuning in, we've talked about this before, but if you have a friend, if it's not just you personally, but if you know somebody around you that is like going through this, do not tell them to just don't think about it. Just don't think about it. Just don't stress. Because I will tell you that is not helpful. And if you tell somebody just to not think about it, they're going to think about it.
Right.
Like they can't not think about it. So like offer like to take them out for lunch, offer to go watch a movie with them, make recommendations of like different Netflix shows, you know, things to distract them.
Yeah.
But they're not going to think about it. So just stop saying that. That is not helpful. Oops, just hit my mic.
You know what helped us?
What?
We got 3 kittens.
You got like 17. I'm just kidding. You did.
We got 3 kittens. It was like the week after. It was like probably within a couple of days of the transfer, we picked up our kittens that were ready to be picked up because they were old enough. And then, you know, from there on out, we were just trying to keep those guys alive because we lived in this crazy house.
I love that house.
Yeah, it was beautiful. They easily could die. In fact, one of them had to have a surgery because she fell. But like, I mean, we legit were just so like consumed with the kittens and then keeping my feet warm in like the foot warmer thing and, you know, all that stuff. So, I mean, you know, when in doubt, if you have nothing better to do, like maybe go purchase a litter of kittens.
Get a bunch of kittens.
Like foster some puppies.
Yeah. Oh, puppies.
It's a logical thing, you know?
It is. It is. Okay, so this next appointment couldn't come any faster. To say we were anxious and worried was an understatement. I felt as if everyone in the office was anxiously waiting as well. That's so true. I feel like everybody at my fertility clinic was like, because I imagine they get invested when they see certain patients come in constantly. There has to be a point where they're like, oh my God, please, please. Because when and then like when we finally got pregnant, I remember I called in, it was like a couple weeks later to see when my next appointment was. And then they were like, oh, Jessica? I'm like, yeah. They're like, oh, congratulations. Like, because you build that rapport. So it's like, they're just also invested in it. So it's awesome. The ultrasound tech was quick to get in and make sure there was a heartbeat. And we had a heartbeat. What a relief. Yes. When we saw that little flicker, like, oh my God, it's just, I can't even explain what that feeling is like. And the baby had gained a day and was now measuring 4 days behind. Dr. Manara was feeling a lot better about this visit, but he still wanted to check again, so we came back 4 days later to do another ultrasound. Each week we went back, we would go in holding our breath. The ultrasound tech would say, okay, there's a heartbeat, and we all could breathe again. We didn't want to let ourselves get too excited, but with every appointment since then, the baby's been steadily progressing each week. That's exactly what was going on with Adam and I. Every single visit, it was like I was anxious. I was so nervous. My heart was beating like crazy. And then it was like, good news. Like I was looking at each appointment as like a milestone. It's like, okay, this one was good. Next milestone is the next appointment. Okay, this one's good. And it's just like, oh, okay, good.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Like it's fucking terrible. After 10 weeks of monitoring this pregnancy, it was time to graduate. In the IVF world, you graduate from your fertility clinic and then start going to your OBGYN. It was bittersweet, and I knew I would miss everyone in the office. The most exciting moment was when I was done with the daily progesterone shots. I had some serious scar tissue, knots, and bruises that I couldn't wait to go away. Oh, yeah. My ass was beat.
I was wondering if the knots would ever actually go away. Like, that was always, like, on my mind. Am I just going to have these
Right?
forever?
Dr. Minara's office is a very small practice with very special people. They made me feel comfortable and truly cared about me as a patient. Dr. Minara is the best. I am so grateful for the way he handles his patients, the knowledge and expertise he provides, and the care and empathy he showed throughout our entire journey. At every visit, he is face to face with his patients, going over everything and answering any questions. I couldn't have been any happier with my experience there. It is still hard to believe I am pregnant. It truly is a miracle, and we are so excited to be parents. Carli's advice. I want to show other women that it's okay to struggle. It's okay to feel broken and to feel hopeless, but to never give up and keep going. We don't know the future chapters of our lives, and it's important to just keep putting one foot in front of the other. I went from feeling embarrassed, ashamed, and afraid to tell people that I was going through IVF to now wanting to share my story to help others. In times of struggle, we see what we are made of. We grow, we learn, and most important, we have more appreciation for the things we do have in life. That is so true, and it's like not to keep making this about me, but like I literally went from not wanting to tell anybody, holding it close, feeling all those things that she described, to like now we're on we have a podcast that we're literally publicly telling not just our close friends, not just like our coworkers, like the world, whoever wants to listen to us. It's like, let me just put it on a loudspeaker of like what was going on.
Right.
Yeah, it's so true. Once you live in it and you accept it and you own it, you realize like, you know what? This is actually just like another thing that's making me stronger and making me more of who I am right now. And it's like knowing that this could potentially help somebody else
Make them feel better.
it makes me feel like that's my why. Like what Courtney was saying in her episode, like trying to find the why, like the why will come. I think maybe this is our why, is so that we could do this.
Right. Yeah. It's definitely made our friendship a lot closer. I mean, we've always been best friends, but it's made us a lot closer because we're united in this mission that we're now realizing, you know, so many women say the same thing. Like, infertility is a stigma. It's something that's not talked about. Same with miscarriage. So I feel like we all go through this and there is a reason for it, but we don't want to be told that in the moment. We don't, those are one of the things that we're not supposed to say to people going through it in the moment, but they're really, truly, there is a reason for it, and it's amazing. And I think also it brings you closer to other people because you're being your authentic self. So like the people who came forward to me, I had, some of them were mostly just acquaintances and others were friends that maybe weren't close friends. But after hearing their stories and like talking through it with them, we've definitely become a lot closer because we know each other more authentically and we know ourselves in the moment of the struggle. And for me, it's mostly like knowing them a little bit more in the moments of their struggle because I usually went through it first. So
there's literally like this whole, I don't want to call it an underground community, but it kind of feels that way because you don't know about it until you're going through it. But there's just a whole community of IVF and fertility warriors that like it's just everybody has a very similar story, and it's like their journey may look a little different, but at the end of the day they've experienced all the same anxieties, they've experienced all the same heartaches, and you know, some of them don't necessarily ever get to have their rainbow, you know, and like to know that there's women out there that have gone through all this and you're not alone. It's like just reading people's stories and hearing about them, just like it's helpful. Well, what a great find. What a great article.
Yeah.
What a perfect hope-isode. I was just like literally like clinging to the edge of my couch here because I read like a good part, but I clearly didn't finish it because I'm just like, well, what the fuck? Is this a hope-isode? Do we have a happy ending? Please tell me there's a happy ending here. I cannot handle.
I know.
I need her to get her rainbow.
It's crazy because, you know, we haven't had long stories for a while where they had so many ups and downs throughout all of it. We've had stories where there are ups and downs, but it was more like generalized because it's been like 10, 15 years since they've gone through it. Not everything is like top of mind for them, like the details. Like she's literally going, like she just went through this and she's still currently pregnant. Like baby's not here yet. So yes, this is really just real and in the moment.
Well, congratulations, Carli. This is awesome.
We can't wait to see those pictures that will be online everywhere, I'm sure.
We're so invested. Can't wait to follow your journey to being a mama. So congratulations.
Yes. All right, so that's all we have for you today. Reminder, you get 20% off services at Ageless Medical Aesthetics in Westbrook, Maine with the code MAMAS2024. And you also get a free first swim class at Goldfish Swim in Portland, Maine with the same code MAMAS2024. You just have to call them and the phone number will be in the show notes for you. So thank you for listening. Be sure to tune in next week. Follow, subscribe, rate, and review. Tell a friend. We need your support. All of your support, please.
For more info, you can check out our website at www.geriatricmamas.com. You can also follow us on Instagram at geriatric_mamas, on YouTube at geriatricmamas, on TikTok at geriatric_mamas.
So proud.
Twitter at geriatric mamas, and follow our group page on Facebook, Geriatric Mamas.
I mean, you're never the one who had an issue with saying TikTok.
Yeah, but you know what? But now that it's a thing, like now I do catch. I'm like, but wait, which way is it?
TikTok or is it a TikTok?
Like now you're getting me to say that, so now I feel like I have to be very careful.
It might be a problem. It's fine. If you have a topic idea you'd like us to discuss, are interested in being a guest, or simply have a funny geriatric story to tell, you can go to geriatricmamas.com and hit be a guest or send us your story. Bye.
Bye-bye.